So the Steelers are at the top of the division right now at 6-2, Ravens at 5-3. Key, do the Steelers have enough to hold off the Ravens for the division?
I think they do, but because of Lamar's experience within this division and the Ravens' experience within the division, it feels like the Ravens, and I know that the records are one thing and they get to play each other and all of that, but when you start to break things down, Russ has only started 2 games, and they look great. The offense looks much better than it did under Justin Fields. This is why Mike Tomlin made the decision to move on from him. But when you start to look at the deficiencies on the Ravens side, it's the defense, right?
Yeah.
Opposed to the offense. And then when you look at the strength of the Steelers' defense, their takeaways, they're tied for second in the league. Okay, the yards per game, they're 9th. Points per game, they're 2nd. Where the Ravens, they're in the middle on down, damn near in every defensive statistical category that there is.
Yes, except for rush defense.
Except for rush defense. But why run the ball when I can throw the ball against your defense? So that's kind of how you're looking at it when you start to say, okay, can they hold them off? Well, Lamar can run and he can throw. So it's really going to come down to those 2 games that they play each other, as far as I'm concerned, within the division. Who gets the best of those 2 games?
Yeah, I agree. I would tend to think it's the Ravens, but the only reason why I say that is Lamar Jackson, because as you just outlined, there's not a whole lot of other reasons to think that the Steelers couldn't hang with them. Yes, Derrick Henry's obviously incredible, but the Steelers can run the ball as well, and the defense is the factor that changes the conversation when you're talking about the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens always have a consistent defense. They always have a defense that can hang, a defense that can play with everyone in the league. They're not going to be bad defensively, but the Steelers are different. The Steelers have a championship-level defense. And when Russ is playing the way that he is and they're able now to put up points, that, to me, puts them at toe-to-toe with the Ravens. Whereas earlier in the year, it's like, okay, are the Steelers going to kind of scrape by to get to the postseason? Are they really actually going to be contenders? I don't feel that way anymore. I agree with you. I don't know who will end up winning the division. I think the Steelers are slightly better right now, but Lamar is the game changer for the Ravens. It's going to come down to who ends up getting the best of this in-season divisional matchup, and that's going to be the determining factor who ends up winning the division.
Yeah, for me, I'm all Baltimore, too. I got to take the best player in the division, and I got to ride with him. Lamar is the best player. He's the MVP from a year ago. He has a great chance at winning MVP this year. I like their schedule. And the Washington, I like Russ and everything they're doing. They have a championship defense. But I'm a betting man. And if I'm going to put some chips down on the table, I'm betting Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. And so, you know, they coming up. Steelers haven't played a divisional game. And, yes, Key, you throw all those stats. But when you match up, when the Steelers play Baltimore, those stats go out the window.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Especially with Lamar Jackson, because he can make things happen as well as Russell Wilson. And so moving forward, I totally believe they'll win the AFC North. And possibly, I got them in the AFC Championship versus Kansas City Chiefs.
The Ravens.
The Ravens.
See, I can't go that far just yet because of what Russ has done over the last 2 weeks. And the complaints by 2 people that sit to my right was that the offense wasn't scoring more than 19 points. Now, all of a sudden, they've been able to do that. So you should be jumping for joy. Oh, did I just do that? You should be jumping for joy, that the Steelers have now found a viable offense, but it doesn't seem like you're too excited about your hometown Pittsburgh Steelers.
I love it. I think there's a lot of football left to play.
What are you laughing at, man?
I think it's great. I was saying that Russ should be the starter from day one because of this. I think Justin Fields always had the potential to do what he was doing. No, that I think he was going to be as good as he was with the Steelers, no. But we've seen Justin Fields do patches of this in his time with Chicago. Being with a more stable organization would tend you to think that he would be improved. But Russ was capable of doing these things, and Justin Fields, up until this point, hasn't. I think that the Steelers are a playoff team, and I know that they're going to be competitive and they're well coached. They do that every single year. In order for them to be a contender, they have to be able to compete with the Ravens. They have to be able to compete with the Texans. They have to be able to compete with the Bills. They have to compete with the Chiefs offensively. And now I feel like they can do that. But talking about who's going to win the division, it's going to come down to these 2 games for the Ravens and Steelers.
It will come down to it. Having been on a Super Bowl winning team with the best defense in the history of the National Football League, when a defense like this is sitting in these categories in the top 10, basically at every statistical category that matters, yards per game, points per game, takeaways, like that really matters, and they're hitting their stride right now. I mean, they're not even hitting their stride right now. When they hit their stride later on in the postseason, that's where things get a little scary, where I don't know if the Ravens could really increase what they do on the defensive side as time goes on. Will they get better, or is it going to be too much pressure on Lamar and Derrick Henry?
They were one of the top-tier defenses a year ago. So
yes, but not right now.
Well, not right now.
So to go from the bottom to the top is hard.
We know they're capable of playing defense at a high level.
Do we know that? Because that defense changed. A lot of bodies on that defense from a year ago are no longer there. These are new bodies. Some of these bodies are so new.
Yeah, they did lose some pieces. That's what I'm saying. Baltimore is always going to have a confident defense.
Yeah.
Are they going to have the defense they had last year? I don't think so.
But when they were winning, okay, when you look at the Super Bowls, right, teams I'll just go as far back as Tampa and Tom Brady.
Okay.
Tampa Bay had lights-out defense with Tom Brady. I understand we won't give our guy who works with us all the love, but that defense was lights out.
Yeah.
Okay, and when you look at Kansas City's Super Bowl titles that they've won, those defenses in Spagnuolo hit pay dirt come playoff time. And even in the Super Bowls, they were the ones that kind of carried Patrick Mahomes to a degree.
The Rams defense came up really big.
The Rams, I mean, you just look at championship teams.
Yeah.
When we won our championship, man, we slapped the Raiders like they didn't even belong on the defensive side of the ball. Although our offense, we were able to generate points, but they were able to give us the ball, give us short fields, things of that nature. That's why when you start to think about it, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, if Russ can do what he's been doing the last couple games and continue to get better and show us what some of that same magic that he had in the Seattle Super Bowl runs, the Steelers, we might be talking about the Steelers in New Orleans.
I love that because we will be there. Over to the NFC, where the Packers play host to the Lions in America's Game of the Week on Fox. Green Bay head coach Matt LaFleur had high praise for Detroit ahead of this one. Well, he did say arguably.
It is a good argument.
He didn't really fully commit to the best
but
team.
Kansas City's not on his schedule either.
That's why he's saying that.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you agree that they are arguably the best team in the NFL?
I agree they are a better team, but not the best. The best team is the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's because they haven't lost. And for whatever weird reason, it doesn't seem like they're going to lose anytime soon because the quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, look, it's a good argument. There's no question about it. Are they the bullies on the block? I would say the Detroit Lions are the bullies on the block. They don't care. They want to run up the score on people. They want to try to, they throw halfback passes up by 40. I mean, like, come on, man, stop.
Right.
They're a really good team, but they played them twice. So you're going to say you don't play Kansas City, so you're not going to say anything. Next time you see Kansas City, going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you get there, right? If they get there, you get there. That's the only time you're going to see them. You got to see the Detroit Lions twice.
So you don't want to even mention Kansas City.
Yeah, so you don't want to downplay them and make them feel like, oh, okay, this is how y'all think about us. No, you want to boost them up. You want that ego to rise.
I mean, this was not that it's applying here because the Lions are actually arguably the best team in the NFL, although I would 100% agree it's Kansas City. But Belichick would always do this, no matter who the opponent was. Oh, they've got a lot of great players. Yeah. They're very well coached. They've got a good system. They don't make mistakes.
Make them comfortable.
They've got a lot of talent. He never, ever, ever is going to give you anything to pin on and say that he insulted you or any kind of bulletin board material at all. I'm with you, but the Lions are a great team right now.
Man, they're really good.
You can't argue against the Kansas City Chiefs being undefeated. So if it's one, then they are 1A.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. They lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' second game of the year.
You can also argue that the Lions are playing better than Kansas City right now as a team, but that's still Kansas City hasn't lost. They played all professional teams.
If Kansas City didn't win the championship last year and they were 7-0 like they are, I would say that Detroit is better than them. And because it's just when I look at them over the last 3 out of 4 games, just the numbers are crazy. They putting up over 40 points a game. They just coming off a 50-point slacking of Tennessee. And we know how they did the Cowboys. Was that the Cowboys?
That was like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, they put up 40 on them. I mean, I feel like they're consistently beating good teams. I think they have more quality wins. They look better, And if Kansas City wasn't the champs, think about this. You could have put any other undefeated team out. Let's say Green Bay was undefeated, and they haven't played the Lions. I would say, based on what I've seen from Detroit, they're the best team.
If Green Bay was playing the way that Kansas City was playing.
Yes, if Green Bay was playing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but because of the champs, you get the benefit of the doubt.
For sure, because there are teams that go on runs.
Yeah.
That they want the respect of their undefeated, or they want the respect that they've been on this winning streak. And we don't necessarily always give it to them because we think, okay, well, you are winning these games, but is it for real? Have you ever really played anybody or whatever? Like Kansas City showed us last year, and because they are going for a three-peat, because we know how good Andy Reid is, because we know how good Patrick Mahomes is, because we know how good that defense is, we're going to give them the respect that this is a legitimate streak no matter what.
It is. The only thing that concerns me about Detroit is Dan Campbell. It's the only thing that concerns. And I know Dan is like, you know, my boy and played together and the whole deal. But I don't want his football ego to get in the way. Situationally, I don't need you doing something because Dan, you know, he feel a certain way. He might try to go for it on fourth and 1 in his own end of the field and a trick play, unnecessary, an onside kick on that. I don't want him doing that. I want him to learn from his mistakes in the past.
They call him Man Campbell for a reason.
That's the only thing that scares me is I don't want it to fall on him.
But what if they've been doing it all season long and this is what works for them? You know, you can't. This is what I don't like. If you go into the playoffs or a situation where you're in the Super Bowl and you go away from what got you there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
But the money is different, Paul.
I'm not about to be conservative.
Because you know this, and you say this all the time. The postseason is different than the regular season.
It is, but I am who I am, too.
Yes, but situationally, you have to make certain choices and decisions because you're not playing for a win in week 6. You're playing for everything. You're playing for a championship. You're playing for a city. You're playing for your job, for legacy, for someone's Hall of Fame chances. Like that, you have to make
going
the
for 2
right
unnecessarily.
Decision.
You don't need to go for 2
in those situations. Yeah,
no, but I don't think they do things unnecessarily.
No, they do.
Well, you got to know your opponent too.
No, coaches do things unnecessarily.
You got to know your opponent.
That's why we sit in front of TV complaining.
Things that I'll do against Kansas City, things I won't do against Kansas City that I will do against like Cleveland or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you can't coach that way.
Why not?
Not in the postseason.
You cannot, Paul. You can't.
You can coach. The coaches coach
that way. And you're going to lose. Exactly, and that's why they be losing. And that's why they lose, and everybody sit there the next day, and we sit up on these shows and be like, man, why would he do that?
They're not losing. They blowing teams out.
Yes. It's the regular season. I don't want him getting into the postseason, going for it on 4th down on his own end, onside kicking unnecessarily, going for 2 points because the analytics say you should go for 2.
I'm saying that Campbell is the only thing holding him back.
If they don't make it to the Super Bowl and they rolling and he makes some bonehead decisions as a head coach, then yes, I am saying that. Absolutely, 100%.
All right.
Because he has shown in his short period of time in the National Football League that he can make some questionable coaching decisions. That's why I hope that he's learned from those coaching mistakes in the past, that it won't carry over into the postseason this year.
Well, coaches learn just like players do.
Yeah, you think. You think.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
what do you think?
We can only hope.
Common sense ain't common, huh?
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.